Yeah, hi everyone. This is Ziad. I'm from Warwick, and I'm with Richard, who's from KCL. Richard actually understands chess a lot more than I do, so hopefully he'll help us out a bit, a bit here. But yeah, we're going to be mainly commentating on Warwick games on this the BUCA chess tournament, with some interest in all the other interesting games and interesting fixtures that are going to be happening.
Yeah, so I'm Richard. I'm at King's. I'm a postdoc, which is why I'm not eligible to be playing, unfortunately, myself. But I do play for the King's team in the London Chess League, which I much enjoy. So we'll be going through picking out interesting games and doing our best to work out what's going on.
Cool. When are we set to start?
Yeah. Do you know? Just want to make sure do you have the Lee Chess broadcast going? Do you see moves appearing on your board? I'm not like behind or anything.
On my board.
Yeah, I just don't want to be missing.
Oh, I am watching your stream.
Any moves?
Okay. Okay, let me open my independent one. That makes sense. Where was it? Lee Chess Live. And are you on the championships?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no moves pop up for me.
Okay, that's good. So yeah, I guess 15-10 is we're looking at what up to about 40 minutes for each round to be played out, unless anyone manages to go into hundreds of moves in their end game.
We won't be expecting 100 move end games.
Yeah.
Would we?
I wonder how quickly the boards are going to be able to update as well, because they're going to be playing on these boards that provide the moves back, right? Rather than they're actually going to be playing on physical boards?
Yep. Yeah. I think it's a cheating measure, anti-cheating measure to have a delay, as well as just the latency as well. So.
That makes a lot of sense. But it could be I don't know, isn't it more standard to have 15-minute delay or something?
Oh, if it's going to be a 15-minute delay, then we're gonna start a podcast before we.
Right.
Well, maybe let's entertain everybody with something else non-chess related while we wait, because I'm interested. What is your postdoc about?
So I'm doing a postdoc because it's funded by.
Oh, we have moved.
Oh, we see. There we go.
Which game do you want to look at?
So just going to give them okay, they were actually quite fast, so I better dive into one. Go through them. Yeah, okay. Obviously, it being a rapid game, players are that's center stream. Players are blitzing out these moves, and the boards, I guess, are a little bit slow, so we might need things to settle down. But already, this game that I'm looking at is pretty wild. I assume this is prep for the players, because this does not look to me like a line you go into quickly unless you know what you're doing.
What part of this opening? When does it go crazy?
I think I'm seeing on the board now. Black can't castle. The king is going to be forever stuck in the center. At some point, the black queen might get hit with tempo. I guess I should put these whenever the white pawn advances. On the other hand, black has a very nice knight. Stupid arrows. And there's going to potentially some knight f5 ideas in the position. Yeah. This I guess we can play through the moves and actually see what the hell happened. Go crazy. Oh, so there we go.
So I think this is pretty
What's
standard.
this?
It's this knight d4 move that really I've never seen before. Is that book?
Knight a5 is the common move, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So this was the interesting thing. Okay. Oh, and moves are still on the board. So it seems to me by the time position that black is the one who's completely in book, and white is sort of feeling it out a little bit more. Okay. Who would you rather be?
Here.
Mm.
I don't know. Knight f4 looks a bit scary to me, but I don't see a big follow up after you try to defend. So I think I prefer white. I think I can quite easily defend the sort of threats from there. What would you say?
I agree. I'm a bit afraid of there, but I like the fact that I'm castled as white. I like this bishop c6. Sort of the bishop was attacked, but by retreating here, it sort of can exchange itself for the knight, and it helps to sort of indirectly defend g2. So I like that idea from white. And I'm just thinking of how quickly I can get the rest of these pieces in the game at the moment.
So maybe we have rook to e1, right?
Right. There's a big
making some threats. Yeah.
Making a big threat. That's certainly an option. I mean, you might just be asking black to play something like bishop e6 in response, which maybe black wants to play anyway. Yeah, I don't know. Perhaps we can move on to a different game because I think there's like 20 going on, and this is a little too wild.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Okay.
This is ZCL versus Knots. Yeah.
Little bit calmer here. Of course, white has castled queenside, and it's most likely that black is going to go kingside, so might not stay that way for long. I like the nice central space that white has, so I'm liking white's position here. Black still has to complete development castle and then begin to start breaking back out.
Can you not envision black crashing in queenside with the spawns before even castling? Trying to go for a quick attack. Is that not a reasonable choice here?
It doesn't. I mean, this is what we commonly do in these positions, but something about it doesn't feel like it's going to be that fast and that threatening to me. Even if it's going to take quite a long time for these pawns to actually land where they're attacking somewhere, and as white, I'm going to be interested in how to break into e6. Maybe I've got ideas of a knight attacking it combined with a bishop and a rook. If you don't castle, I might have some way of breaking in there. And if you do castle, it feels like my pawn storm will be faster because you're going to be hitting more pieces on the way.
Tempo's king.
Yeah. Of course, I don't want to completely rule black out, of course. The position for black is still solid. There's a very nice square on d5 for the knight. And if white were to ever want to shift that, that would require the pawn break c4, pawn in front of the king. So I think black is still, the position is still relatively solid. I just like white's development and white's space.
Okay, that's cool. I'm trying to look for any exciting games.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like everybody's. No. They all seem like pretty like deadlocked, nice positions. It's actually the first game that we're looking at that still looks quite interesting. Should we go back to that one?
Okay.
You know, the one with the so the rook's done this weird move there. Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is quite a natural idea to try and swing the rook over. Of course, gaining time on the undefended white bishop. Of course,
Is it gain time even if you trade the bishop with the knight?
Well, I think that's what I'd be looking at playing as white. In which case, yeah, you didn't really gain time, but you forced this trade, and this is a relatively open position. So I would be favoring the bishops here. I mean, of course, that's an excellent knight, but I would be worried about the fact that black will be the only one with a light squared bishop after there, and there's going to be big potential to cause some batteries with the queen down there. This is, of course, white's sort of only developed piece at the moment, so it's nice to get that off. Yeah, and it doesn't feel like white can really hold the bishop there. Like a move like queen c2, trying to defend it, is just going to run into a knight b4. Knight b4.
How about a queen a4?
Queen a4 is a more serious attempt for that. And I mean, if you could hold the bishop there, it might be worth considering. But like instinctively, I'm worried about my king as white, and I don't want to be shoving my queen over to the queen side. But I mean, okay, maybe let's consider it a little bit more, because I mean, it is also looking at the softer e5 pawn. Would black be able to shift the queen?
To me, it feels like that bishop is actually quite a good defensive piece, actually, not just an attacking piece. That light square bishop for white.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I would just say instinctively, you know, I would want to try to hold it.
Put it on the board then.
Yeah.
Okay, that grays out the board. Okay, I don't like that. I mean, I guess if queen a5 then is black, I just go back to developing the rest of my pieces. Oh
Wow!
It's been played. Okay, I mean that's quite a brave move from white. You know, not trying to exchange pieces and make the defensive task a bit easier.
So do you prefer? So earlier we thought like white was probably in a better position just because black looked a bit exposed. But what would you say now? Would you say for black? It seems like it's worked out for black quite well.
Yeah, I guess I would be more comfortable as black here. It just, even though the king's stuck in the middle, and I think longer term that could be a problem. I mean, you already spoke about rook e1, rook e8 kind of ideas. Just black having the initiative right now just makes it more comfortable to play. Of course, if nothing comes of this, then the fact that the white king is castled and the black king isn't, I give longer term prospects. I mean, and you know, now I think about it, I mean, is white got ideas of knight c4 to hassle the rook, which you know would help bring pieces forward. I mean, naturally, I would have wanted to stick it maybe on e4, feels a bit more defensive, but
you want to be maybe be careful when you play knight c4, right? So you hassle the rook, but the rook can start coming in and causing problems for you down. So it could maybe move to this b4 square, maybe potentially.
Yeah, yes. Though I don't know. Like I'm worried about it coming over to the king side. I guess once it's on b4,
Are you happy
it
for it to be
starts
locked
making
off
its
there?
way over there exactly. And with the knight on c4, as long as the knight remains defended by a d3 pawn, and then the knight also defends the b2 pawn, I don't think I'd be as afraid. I mean, as black here, rather than chasing the queen, one move that has to be assessed is just taking the d3 pawn. That's asking for trouble, like trying to clear, removing stuff off the d file is potentially dangerous, but it could be, on the other hand, quite useful pawn. We mentioned I want knights on c4 or e4, and other moves would be just getting some more pieces developed.
Okay.
So, yeah, still very difficult to say. I like the time advantage of black, though. I mean, black is now obviously begun to think, but in a complicated position like this, I'd much rather 13 than 9 minutes. I mean, black has a very nice center and quite a nice bishop sitting here on a7. This white rook seems to be in a little bit of trouble. I mean, I wonder how it ended up there. It's like the sort of move you might be interested in if you had somehow jumped the queen to h5, but it's looking quite out of place at the moment. So this looks like a comfortable position for black.
Are there any ideas for a rook sacrifice on h7? Bring the knight in, bring the queen in.
Definitely something to consider. If I put moves on, is it going to do the gray thing? Well, yeah. Forcing, black's king back, making this bishop nicer. Yeah, okay. This move needs serious consideration. So, sort of need to defend the knight and get the king away. So I think rook f6 would be sort of only move here. I mean, it's a whole rook. And it's normally in these lines you can sort of infiltrate with like queen h7, check queen h8, and then pick up g7. But with the knight covering h8, white doesn't have that. I mean, also I'd be looking at ways to pressure this pawn, knight here. I mean, at very worst, black can take the knight, and it's a whole rook. So I think your instinct to consider this is very good. Absolutely. If this works, it completely changes the evaluation of the position. But it doesn't look like it's working to me.
What do you think? Do you think this might be a long-term plan for white? What does white need to do for that idea to work?
The problem is, I think you can't do too much long-term. It's either you're sacking the rook this move, or you've got to be you've got to move the rook, right? Like it's attacked by the knight. I don't think this position is one where you can really spend time setting something up. Like the only square it looks really safe on at the moment is well, hang on, it's not even safe on. I wanted to bring it to h5, but this is very difficult. This position could be.
One last crazy suggestion for me is looking at bishop g5. So protecting the rook first this way.
Yeah.
And then weakening that D5 pawn. So future ideas might work. I'm not so sure.
I mean, it almost certainly should be played, I guess, because so I've just seen on the live board the sack.
Oh,
the
wow.
sack is on. I was gonna say, yeah, I think bishop g5 is another move, of course, developing the bishop with tempo. And then what?
Do see the rook sacrifice.
So I predicted rook f6 here. We'll have to see what black has planned for this. Yeah, you have chosen that. You have chosen the good game.
So do you know Rashad quite well then from KCL?
He actually only joined the team this year, so I don't know him for as long as some of the other players, but he usually brings home the bread.
Okay.
And he's been doing some training session. We're called Rishab's Rookies. He'll do make us sweat trying to compute some very difficult puzzles, which is appreciated. I think I'm just going to flip through.
Yeah.
Some.
I found another game actually.
Okay.
By Rohan, who's also from KCL, and it looks like the game might already be over.
Okay, clock's still ticking. Rohan often has some pretty deep prep, so he often manages to find very interesting, very fun-looking positions that are actually fine. I don't know if this is that, but here we go. So your gut, looking at this game, which side are you quickly thinking?
I think black, just because the queen and the rook are pretty good, and then I have this pass pawn on the h file.
Yeah, pass pawn on the h file. I agree. Looks huge right now.
With not that many pieces from white to really do much about it, right? So,
I guess. And developing is difficult. Like I really want to play bishop f4, but with the king loose, that something like queen takes f3 check is threatened. So and therefore it's very difficult to bring the knight out. If I bring it to d2, I'm blocking the bishop. If I bring it to a3, I'm bringing it out basically just to clear the rook. It's not helping that h pawn. So yeah, okay, then yeah. I think then we can move on. We had mentioned some games. Do you know which boards they're on?
So I know Arya is a decent work there. He's been playing for a while. The game looks. Well, there's some stuff going on, I guess, at the game. So can you let us know what sort of things we need to be worrying about on both sides?
This is more one for the e4 players, I guess. But what I'm seeing is, so white has achieved what white often wants. They've got e4 and d4 established. There does seem to be a fair amount of pressure on d4. Oh, so much so that the white queen's even coming back. But black is getting a knight into f4, which is very often very desirable, and again has a very nice bishop sitting there on h7. I guess in this position, white was worried about bishop takes h3 ideas. The g2 pawn being overloaded. So white's brought the queen back to defend the f3 knight. Also helps support d4 a bit more. So it's interesting. Even though white has achieved like this pawn structure, it's black with a bit of activity now. And I see maybe the queen in time trying to also come to g6, with like more threats of bishop takes, h3. Leyden maybe trying to advance some of the kingside pawns. Of course, you can't move the f7 pawn at the moment. But if black doesn't get anything out of this, then I like white's center.
White's really low on time as well. Who knows what was happening earlier? Looks like Arya prepared quite well.
Yes, yeah, that's a nice time advantage. So, but still, I don't know. I guess this one's all to play for. I guess as players run out of time, it's going to be some more wild stuff. So let's look at the board one. Okay, this looks to be a nice, comfortable advantage for white here. I mean, materials level, but this solidified bishop in the middle of the board, applying pressure to f7, which is very often, you know, a weak point in these positions. You know, I can easily see like queen f3, rook e7 applying pressure. And as black, if you end up with your rook stuck on f8 defending it, then this is always very miserable. So this, of course, it's not won yet. Black's not out of it, but definitely I prefer white here. What are your thoughts?
Would black's plan be here to try to fight back?
So what is it? It's black to move. So again, also the queen, the black queen is, I'm realizing, quite tied down to a nicely placed white queen here. And I'm worried about potential rook e7. It's more challenging to think of a move. I might try and get a bishop round to e6. Okay, black here is, I think, trying to stop the incursion. But yeah, my longer term plan is I would like to get rid of this very good white square bishop for white. And it's difficult to trade it off. I was thinking by more traditionally move it to b7, because then you'll drop these pawns, which you can't really afford to do. You don't want to go a clear pawn down, white put the rook behind it. But yeah, there's not much chance of getting a bishop to e6 now with, you know, all of white's pieces staring at e6.
Oh, sorry. But I'm in my office on the weekend and someone just walked in.
No problem. Do another quick look at the Warwick board. I see black here has huge time trouble. And also is getting quite badly attacked here. I mean, that's a fantastic.
How do you know beforehand which ones are work boards, by the way?
Which ones are what? Sorry, what? Oh, I've worked out that they're in sequence. So like 5 to 8 is Warwick, and then 9 Warwick versus Bath, and then.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, sorry. Anyways, you were saying, sorry about that.
It looks very nice for white here. Black, of course, black might be defending. I mean, nothing. There's no material advantage. Nothing lasting has happened. Oh, hang on, I say that black's actually down a pawn, aren't they? Oh. But I mean, so as black, you know, if you can exchange off this f6 bishop, make sure the e4 pawn stays on e4, so this bishop doesn't open. Then maybe you can start hoping to survive this one.
Black has only 30 seconds.
Yeah, that's why I chose this. I thought some games are going to be ending pretty soon. Fine, I mean, we'll see. I think White's going to think quite a little while on this next move. So the final Warwick board. Yeah, a lot of interesting games today. So we have pretty symmetrical pawns. Okay, White trying to trade off black squared bishop. I guess the b3 pawn was tender. But if this happens, black is going to be the one with the file. Long term, though, White has this move a5 to break down and trade off any pawns. So I think this one could be quite drawish. You know, if the queenside pawns get exchanged, and I think, you know, both sides can achieve that if they want to. Like, it's quite hard to prevent that happening. Then it's going to be a very drawish game. I go back to Rishab's game. So this was the game with the rook sack on h7 that I didn't believe in.
So to go back
seeing,
back to that position.
Yeah, that's a good point. What did happen? Oh, wow.
Oh.
I totally missed this counterattack. Okay. Fine. Okay. Oh, because now the knight has interposed on the bishop. No, the knight's still defending. Okay, this is beyond me. What is going on? Okay. There we go. So that's how White lost the queen. Okay, that's quite nice. I wonder if this was a kind of idea White hadn't seen.
Do you think that was a blunder, or was there a way to sort of save your queen?
See, I thought White was in trouble anyway. You know, I didn't really believe this rook takes h7. So whether you're down a rook or you're down a queen for different material, I don't know if that was if it was a later move that was missed. I wonder if the position had already gone a bit wrong when we first picked it up. Okay, so this is quite interesting, right? So like there was this pin onto the black king, so black has just given up the bishop. You know, it's blocking the diagonal, but like, was it really necessary to give the bishop up? Okay, and then quite a nice idea from White here, like neutralizing that dark square bishop for black.
Wow. And also bringing the rook into the game,
yeah.
Right? A rook now come in. Should be good.
Wow. I shouldn't have doubted Rishabh. This White is fighting back.
Yeah.
This is the problem with looking at games of strong players. I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
And the worry is, I guess, is they're both low on time, so this could probably swing one way or the other, right? It's just one mistake.
Absolutely. They say the person who makes the last mistake is the person who loses. And that could well be the case in a position like this.
So let's have a look. Let's think what black is pondering right now. Oh, black just wants to get rid of that bishop. Makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah, that does. I think I'd probably try and keep that bishop. Like, the black knight is not very good where it is. I mean, this move was perhaps necessary to get the bishop off this diagonal, but I think I just want to play bishop c2 quickly. I guess you need to worry about queen f2 hitting the knight on e3. So maybe that's not possible. That's what I'd be quite sad if I had to lose this bishop.
So Rishabh's probably thought the same. Played there, and now when you push the c pawn, where does this bishop go? Squares right now.
When you push the c pawn, I'm actually quite happy again as white now, because again that black knight is now absolutely sidelined. In fact, it's trapped with a b4 potentially.
Oh, okay.
Hey, this is still a nice solid square for the bishop. Now, of course, black does have knight g3 check. So yeah, so black can remove that bishop, but then maybe try and play c5 and get this knight back in the game. And the more pieces that get traded, the better for the side with the queen. Like the more minor pieces. Sorry, go.
Oh yeah. Oh wow,
resignation. Yeah.
Okay. He's noticed that as well then. So once the trade happens, I guess there's not really much hope then.
It looks like the white knights are going to just be too loose, I guess. So I get to put a few moves on the board. Actually, I wouldn't want to
wins for Warwick.
Right.
Now announced Victor and Edward.
Sorry, which board are you looking at?
Board 7 and 5. 2 wins for Warwick. So that's
looking good. We were earlier looking at Aria's game. How did that progress? So it looks like white maintained the center. So, but white has had to give up the bishop pair for that. And there's still pressure on the center. Perhaps a nice idea from black here, applying a lot more pressure to the e-pawn. It's very difficult for this e-pawn to advance. So I think black's done well since we last looked at this. What would you be looking to do here as white?
As white. Well, I don't like this d pawn for white on d4. I've tried to find a way to kind of not having to worry about that constantly, but I'm not really sure what I do.
Well, pushing it is one way to solve that problem.
Would that not open this dark squared bishop?
Yeah, exactly right. So then instead of d4 being under the gaze of the bishop, it would be f2. It would also make it harder to move the e-pawn, and sort of I think as white, you do want to be getting an e5 move and playing d5 totally stops that. So yeah, well,
e5.
There we go.
Let's see what's going to happen now.
White.
I guess it's
maybe with this move.
Yeah, this f2 square is probably actually really well defended, right? With the rook on there. So maybe it is fine to kind of expose that bishop onto f2 later on.
But it looks like actually white just achieved what they might want. Of course, the queen is going to be in a a pin, but perhaps white can just maintain this pawn. I don't know, queen d1 or queen d3. Yeah. So do we have a win? Do we have a win for Warwick then overall? No, we still have 2 going. I'm going to go check up back to board 1 because this was a very interesting position. So after the queen a4, okay, black insisted that the white bishop move from its square. Trade. It gets the rook swing to happen. Okay, white looks like they've achieved something, but they're probably going to drop the exchange. Okay.
Oh wow! No. Okay.
That's quite an interesting idea. And then, well, I mean, what does white have to give? That's unfortunate.
Why did white have to give that up? Can you walk us through that?
I'm wondering about. So black has got this discovered rook attack, discovered attack. So, and the knight is pinned. So you might, ordinarily try and move the knight to defend the bishop, but it has no squares. Like the d3 is covered by its own pawn, and g6 would just get taken by the rook. So because this bishop on f4 is loose, it looks like white has to give a piece, which I would then think makes this quite easy position for black. And just being a piece out. So
now,
This is quite easy now.
It's just like a standard conversion battle for black then.
Yeah, so so black successfully pulled off that rook swing, and even though white managed to exchange the queens, I think white here just has to give the exchange maybe with g3 and hope that with the knight and a pawn you can hold it. Going in with this sally ultimately didn't work out.
Yeah. So do you think that was the blunder there, that bishop to f4?
I think things are already very difficult here, right? Like black sort of has this rook move with tempo in the bag. The white king is in trouble. If I manage to retreat the rook, then you can end up with like the king being trapped and bishop g2 moves, and just black having the 2 bishops, a little bit better development. It looks already good here for me. I mean, there might be some tactic in, there's can you try taking this pawn? Okay, no, you can't, because the point of this bishop is to enable rook takes h2. And with f4 attempting to maintain it, what have we got here? So I might have preferred f4, although it wouldn't surprise me if black has something here as well.
Okay. I think Arya's game is going down to a few seconds on each side. So should we look at that?
Sure. Sorry to so many of the boards at the bottom. Next round, we're going to have to look at some new players. So what do we got? We have a piece for 2 pawns. So that's gone seemingly well for white. Black king is a bit more vulnerable. So yeah, this is looking very nice for white. I mean, obviously, black can hope to get some sort of queenside push, but it's a long way from happening.
So what's white's? White wants this rook maybe on this G file, right? Where do you want to place this queen?
I'd like to keep it on the board, I think, but so I like the infiltration. You're right, the white rook is looking to swing, as we're seeing. I might be looking to put the knight on e3, not that to sort of try and blunt some of black's chances at counterattack and to come in. But white sort of is going to force the queen. Oh, no, it's mate and hitting the rook. And oh, okay, this is a little fast. But it looks like black will have big trouble still.
Bishop, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So well done to Bath, fighting back. Yes, I think this one is over. So I'm gonna look to see if there's still a game alive. Okay, maybe more towards the bottom. Oof. Again, positions with like open kings and queens are very hard, I think, to get an accurate grasp of, because it all depends on tactics a lot of the time. But white has a fantastic knight, has an absolutely fantastic long-term asset with the d5 pawn, and of course is a pawn up with a slight, bit of a save the king. So this has to be winning for white, I just think. Is the game still going? No, oh, it's over.
Time control, yeah.
So how's this? They must have played, yeah, okay, 60-move game to keep them going. Opposite colored bishops. Seems like this should be a fairly easy draw for white. Oh, let's see how Emma's doing. Okay, interesting. But looking very bad for white here. Oh, am I saying? Maybe I'm saying very bad too soon. But often in the end game, the rook can be far more of an equal to 2 pieces. These knights don't have immediate outposts. But on the other hand, white has successfully blockaded the black pawn.
What about
at least has a plan himself. Well, yes, we'll now. They doesn't look like they will be able to be held. So I guess can white generate something with this d pawn? Because if not, yeah, when those kingside pawns roll, that'll be that. Do you see any way to dislodge, to force this pawn through?
The F pawn or
the D pawn. So I'm thinking for white here, like if white wants to stay in this game, they need something. But I like that black is defending E3, E6 rather.
Mm. I think
Although,
white has to be creative with the knights to really provide a way for this pawn to go up.
well, here's an idea then. White might be threatening d2, and the black king can't come to e7, otherwise they'd run into a fork.
Okay.
So d2, can it be played now and held? No.
You might want to play knight d5 to prevent the king from coming to e2 after you push e2. Maybe that's the way to go.
I like that. Let's see this opportunity. So I mean, it potentially hangs the bishop, but your threat is, I'll take that bishop. You can't block the queening square, and this doesn't help you either. So maybe you had a very nice attack there. Yeah, I'll get back to the live game, but really nice spot. Okay, so to force the pawn through now, white would need a knight on c6, and to do something about this knight on f7. Okay, I think this pawn's gotten very close, but it's really going to struggle to get any further. Whereas these black pawns are now rolling. So possibly you spotted actually a winning motif for white there, but I think now black has it under wraps.
I think there was worries about white getting mated as well, though, even with that idea, because they had that knight. Yeah. So when you're preoccupied making all these moves, you might have knight e4 there, threatening knight. All right, so it's just really tough.
Oh wow, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it would have been quite exciting to see that.
Yes, no, very nice counter threat. And if not, then black is queening as well. So
in a way, that bishop's actually really helpful on a2. It gives you at least one move as white, just to protect against mating.
Right. Black can't play rook b1. So does that mean that white would have had time? Okay, I'm dying to know. Sorry, what is the computer eval after knight d5?
Should I turn it on? Which game was it? 10.
Yeah, so I'll put my own on. Knight e4 is the move. Right. This is doing very well with the idea. Oh no. Yes, with the idea that there's actually a forced mate.
Oh, we can push. Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, you can push that pawn all the way with tempo. Then. Yeah.
Okay.
That's crazy.
Easy when you see the answer. I would have been. I don't know. I think I didn't have any idea what was going over the board with this time on the clocks. So, okay, it's now telling me that the players have 15 minutes, but they must have reset the clock, I guess.
Oh, that's happening.
Perhaps someone resigned. Otherwise, this is the final remaining game. So, what do we got? Let's see if we've got live results. Don't. So we have 1 point UCL 1-1, 2-1 UCL 2-2. Okay, so good match between UCL and Nottingham. So 1 for Warwick, 1-1, 2-1 for Warwick, and that's a win for Warwick because of this saving of the end game. Whereas Kings Okay, so that's 1-0 for Cambridge. 1-1. 2-1 to Kings. And 3-1. Well done, Kings. Nice start.
Yeah, congrats.
2-0. 2.5. Okay, we have a win to Durham. Close game though, 2.5, 1.5. And finally, Imperial. 1.5. 1.5.
You got results on the
just win
BUCA
from Imperial.
website now.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Save me doing the maths. So pretty good opening round, like a lot of tense games. Yeah.
Nice.
So
When do we
we
expect
clock off and come back at 1:15, is it?
Sid? I think we were meant to come back at
Yeah, we're
1:45.
just about to pause the stream in a second.
What do you think your favorite game was, Richard, of this round?
Actually, might be biased, but that game with Rishab was exciting. For a second there, I thought White was managing to come back. I guess I don't I'd need to spend a bit longer, but I don't particularly understand why this was necessary. Possibly there was nowhere for the Black King to go, and not walk into a royal fork. Wow. Okay. So tactics were insane in this game, and then with the exchanging, like when we hit this position here, I began to think, yeah, maybe White has something to hope for, but then it seems like a nice finish from Black, removing this key piece, and then the knights are just too loose. What about you?
Yeah, that one was a close one for me, but I think her name. What was her name? The other KCL game we were looking at with that past pawns.
Isn't it Emma?
Yeah, Emma.
Yeah.
Emma's game was kind of crazy, because you have to worry both about defending these past pawns and also all these counter-attacking ideas near the end. We didn't get to see much of like the middle game of it. Just that like what were those wild sort of pass pawn positions we saw near the end. But it doesn't look too crazy in the game.
Quite standard idea for Black here, yeah, to get an ID5, push C4, gain control. So this looks like Black has achieved some of what they're looking for. And yeah, I mean, when the B2 pawn gets loose, this bishop really is menacing. So it looks like things have been going well. Black, this, it's about, okay, G3 is a bit sensitive, yeah. So maybe F4 sort of just created some weaknesses. Black playing in kind. Okay, I mean, I'd be glad to exchange those bishops as white. I'd feel like I'd achieved something. And now White coming through. Yeah, okay, we didn't get to see this, but actually there was a lot going on here. Wow.
A lot of blunders they look like. But,
yeah, very, very, like, I mean, the players have 2 minutes on the clock, and what is going on? So I mean, this is looking good for White to me. Like that pawn push is rather threatening. and then when the dust settles, was it just the two pieces for a rook?
Yeah. So how did this turn from this? This looks quite boring, and then we ended up having these exciting sort of like opposite pass pawns happening later on.
I mean, I got to disagree with you being boring here. Definitely the pawn structure is far more symmetrical here. Okay, so white traded queens, which, you know, possibly like black might have the weaker king, but I think with the minor pieces usually want the queen on, because the rook is the more powerful endgame piece. So white loses a pawn, has to go, well, goes into so maybe it's just time pressure, like another pawn blunder here. Of course, this a pawn is nice. This knight is like almost completely dominated. I think I already like it for black, but it's probably quite. It's not helped by losing your pawns. So I'll chalk that one up to time pressure.
Yeah, this is where we probably joined. It was around this sort of position.
Yeah.
Yeah. So white was able to kind of neutralize the a pawn maybe a tiny bit, but they had to give
I
up
mean they managed to activate their bishop. Okay, so I mean that's a very natural square to put the bishop on. Very surprised for that to be a blunder. Yeah.
Well, I think we should go get a break then, Richard. Yeah.
All right.
See you in time.
We'll just.
Yeah. Hi everyone, we're back. Richard's gonna walk us through some more exciting stuff this round, hopefully.
Yeah, I've made a chamomile tea in a bid to calm down. Round one was a bit insane. So again, shout out any other exciting boards you see. I don't think we saw much of Oxford, so here's probably a good place to start as well. So Sicilian here. The question for white is often how to rehabilitate this knight that's traveled all the way over to a3. Quite an interesting move here, bishop d4. I'm thinking like tempting white maybe to play f3. I assume long term the bishop's going to want to sit itself back on e6, because in these type of positions the d5 square is critically important. Black would love to be able to advance the d5 pawn because this is their sort of weakened backwards pawn, and white wants to put a piece in d5. So I assume this is going to be retreated.
What would be the issues with playing f? I mean, this is like the common sort of rule, the Ben Feingold rule, never play f3. But what would happen if you played f3 in that position earlier instead of bishop e2?
Just that anytime you move the f pawn, you always sort of open the king a little, So a later castling, you can always run into sort of queen tactics. We saw in previous games like players trying to get a knight into f4, and this can be even stronger whenever the f pawns advanced. You know, to kick the knight out, you'd be needing to play g3 or something, and then you're really weakening yourselves. So of course, playing f3 has advantages, like it defends e4, but sometimes players will try and induce these moves. I guess this is a bit of a slower game at the moment, and so I'll move on and see if we can find positions that are more dynamic. So looks like another sort of Sicilian game here. I like that black has gotten in d5. That's often a very important move to achieve. And this might be enough to completely equalize. Of course, if white advances, there's now a nice square for black to put their knight into. So I'm thinking this game is looking pretty level for now. Next Oxford game. Ooh, this one could end up being a bit sharper. White has a very nice center, but the question will be, can they maintain it? Obviously, it's already under significant pressure, and quite an interesting move. We often don't move our pieces twice in the opening, but here black is sort of moved an already developed bishop just to apply more pressure to this defender of white's center, and that might be enough to break it. Although I don't know, there's bishop d4 if you try and maintain it, and of course if white has to exchange, then things have gone wrong for white, and you'll really regret having the pawn on f4. You'd much rather have the pawn back on f2 if you ever end up giving up this e5 square. So I'm liking this for black, to be seen whether white can hold it, but there are dangers here for white.
Do you see any benefit in this f4 pawn push, not just for defending the e pawn, but also for creating a pawn storm on the king side when black eventually castles?
I think that would only really happen if you could maintain the center.
Okay.
If you don't maintain the center, then I think things will open up too much. In order to do a pawn, like you're saying after white's castled, in order to do a pawn storm when you push the pawns in front of your king, you really want to have control.
Okay.
Otherwise, the enemy pieces can flood in, and actually you just weaken your king, and the pawn storm never lands.
Yeah.
So that's why I would, if I have to give up this e5 square, I'd be really regretting having advanced this pawn.
Yeah. Okay. See how that works out for white then.
Final Oxford game. There we go. Here could be an example of the issues of pushing an f pawn. We see white getting a bit of a check. Not that there's so much on coming off the back of it in this position. Who would you take here? What are you thinking?
I would take white just because on a first look, I just don't see how I would develop the rest of my feet. Like that light square bishop for black doesn't really feel as I'm going to struggle to put that into the game. That's kind of my.
What if black plays f4?
F4. Ooh. Yeah. I guess I never really. Yeah, that is actually quite scary. Then.
Yeah, so I'm seeing a squeeze from black here, and often when you do get sort of an advance here, the bishop can actually be quite well placed on its starting square because it defends b7, which could be a sensitive spot. The queen's on the b file, and I mean, white it can often maybe sacrifice itself if ever like white tries to hold up these pawns by playing h3. Then the bishop ends up hitting that. Of course, I might still prefer that I could get it to e6, but it's often actually fine left on c8.
Right. So do you think that's Black's plan now, is to play f4 and then mount an attack on the king side?
I imagine so. These players that like to throw their f-pawns up the board, they don't often stop. They keep them going and reinforce with the G and H. Many times I've been squished in sort of King's Indian positions and whatnot.
So what would let me ask you, what would Black need to do to now prepare this? I assume starting pushing now, you probably don't have that many pieces to really support that attack.
I mean, me myself, I actually just would start it now. F4, then G5. I guess what white is fighting for, we see the rook on the d file. We've got knight, pawn on c3. White, I expect, is hoping to try and get in d4 and really break the position there. Might even be worth giving up a pawn to open this up, because then the rooks are fantastically placed, opposite black king. So what I like about f4 is it sort of moves this bishop off of e3 where it's supporting d4.
Okay, that's nice.
Okay.
Scanning through all the other boards, they're kind of quite standard. There's the last board, board number 12. Is going to rook lift, which has been a common theme of a lot of games now.
Yes.
Where is that rook going to go to?
I think it's difficult. On one hand, the A file is interesting to put the rook on because the A7 pawn is loose. This knight on A5 is trapped. So, applying pressure there. Of course, we have seen in other games these motifs. I don't really see it working on the king side. Well, I guess I hadn't considered that, the dark square bishop is being traded.
Oh, well, white now is actually forced to make a decision, so let's see where they get to.
We'll see. I'm thinking A file. I think white is trying to use their space advantage to create some weakness. I would like to make black play b6, I think, because then the a7 pawn is stuck forever. But you won't be able to use the file with the knight embedded there on a5. It will be a good blocker. I'd need to bring my own knight across to trade it off. So I'm liking white's position here, and I'm expecting the rook to come to the queen side.
What do we think about long-term ideas with the c pawn and supporting a push with this light squared bishop for white? I think that looks really appealing, right? On the queen side, trying to create a pawn spot.
I think absolutely that's long-term what you want. In an end game, that's what I'd be thinking. As you said, create the fast pawn. But I really wouldn't want to rush it. Those pawns are really quite nice as they are now. They're sort of blunting black's bishop, sort of providing maybe some outposts for the white pieces later. So I'm quite happy with how they are. But as you say, more of a long-term plan, that one, I think. First, maybe a little bit of piece play first. try to get this knight somewhere better, open up the bishop, and then think about advancing those pawns. And what would your long-term plans for black be?
For black, well, I definitely want to improve that knight on the A file. That's horrible. It's not really doing much. It's causing a bit of a weakness. I want to target these D and C pawns, to be honest, because I'd be worried about them in the future. It's exactly what you were saying. You can place a lot of nice pieces on them. I want to break that down.
Yeah, I really like your ideas. Yeah.
I mean, I'm a good ideas man. It's the implementation that's always a problem.
Yeah. Many a game lost to tactics when you had the right strategy, but I mean, I like it. Like the C and the D files are the open files for black. Let's put some rooks on there. Let's pressure those pawns. I can see a potential life for this knight if we have B6, then we can try and bring it around to C5. So, given enough time, I think black can really make something of this position. This is absolutely wild, though.
Yeah.
This was not on my radar.
So I'm guessing white really wants to push the C pawn, maybe, right, to move that bishop off that D pawn. That's what I see that being.
Right. That's maybe the logic. Yeah.
But now this counter attack is crazy as well. In response, the E5.
Yeah, I think it's reasonable for black to be advancing here. Like, if they get the pawn to E4, they might cause a trade. And if white's left with, say, just the C pawn, then the C pawn will be weak. It'll be a backwards pawn. Yeah. So the black's play seems quite logical to me. I'm a little worried that white is just creating weaknesses for themselves. This, if the bishop drops back to E6, this G pawn is always going to be hit. It might need to advance again, and okay, nothing like critical, but just a weakness that you maybe didn't need to create.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I think this game is interesting. I'll want to come back to this.
Board number 12. Yeah, that's.
Should we? Yeah. Do you have any other suggestions or people in chat?
Well, maybe we should actually start looking at word games, right?
Okay, let's try and find. Durham. Okay, we have a very quick draw. This must be your board 1. So enough said about that already.
Wow. Is that a very standard draw, would you say, in your opinion?
I don't know. I'm gonna assume so. It's 9 moves long.
Bobby Fischer wouldn't have enjoyed that. That's the Russians glued in.
So okay, moves coming this. Do I see black being up? No, sorry, white being up a rook in this position.
Yeah. But so, this bishop's under attack.
Yeah, but a rook, man. I think this game might not have much.
So we look at when this rook was sacrificed. But like, when did that happen? When was that lost?
So still level here. White has very nice knights. I mean, just a simple fork. So yeah, it doesn't seem like it was sacrificed as opposed to lost. to me. And then perhaps just another blunder. No reason to lose that. Yeah. So I think we all have games where we make tactical errors. Okay. So we have sort of like an end game here, but still with enough heavy pieces. The Black's king, could be an asset, could be a weakness. I'd really love to teleport a rook onto e6 right now, for example.
White has these double pawns. How much of a weakness do you think they are currently in this position? Obviously, later on when things clear out, it's going to be a massive weakness. But as it stands, do you think?
Yeah, not really. This Black has this backwards e pawn, and it will remain backwards unless it ever gets traded off for one of White's d pawns, which fixes the doubling of them. The Black knight is being kept out of e5 and c5 by one of these pawns, and other more natural routes into the center are sort of blocked as well. So these double pawns really aren't a weakness to me. Might even be an asset. Were Black to ever move the b pawn, then thanks to having the double pawns, White might even get pressure on the c file here.
Where do you think this rook on h3? Where do you think that's going to be more useful? Putting it on down the e file, kind of prevent this possible future black pawn pushing in the e file.
If it's enough to prevent it, what Black has got 3 on it, so it wouldn't be enough to prevent. It would only exchange. So perfectly reasonable to put it opposite the king. Obviously, there's some threats here now. I'm liking bishop e5 is also a skewer onto the rook. So this might force king g7. I mean, then you've got knight e6 to look out for. At any point, White can sort of trade the bishop for the knight if they decide that's what they want with the bishop e5. So this is a bit uncomfortable for Black.
This is what's really nice about these sort of double checks, is you force the king to move. Earlier the skewer was never really a threat because of that knight, but it's kind of these beauty about these double checks. There's no trading off pieces. You really need to force the king to move.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking, well, can I just move the h rook? But bishop e5 is double check and mate. So like I would want to play rook h f8. But you can't. So it looks like the king has to run to g7 to me. So big fan of White's position here. Of course, it's not over yet. White will need to achieve something concrete, but definitely they've got quite a nice position. Happy to move on.
Yeah. I was just trying to look at it myself a bit, try to hook Roddy as well. I probably won't find anything better than you. Cool. Yeah, this is
Not
our
at all.
last game.
You've got the good imaginative moves.
Yeah, it's because all I've been playing for the last 2 years, I've been blitz and bullet during toilet breaks. It's all about creating attacking moves, I guess. Yeah. But,
right.
This looks fun.
It does. Speaking of attacks, it's quite a slow motion one, but White may well be able to generate some attack on Black's king.
This e pawn for Black looks like it's gonna fall.
Yeah. And I really like the D pawn blunting the black bishop, holding back the C pawn. So, yeah, white chooses just to take the pawn, which might just be a safe pawn advantage and also quite nice positionally as well. So, yeah, I really like this for white.
Yeah. So I think I agree as well. This is really nice for white. What can black do to try to stop white from just having a stable pawn advantage and converting that?
That is difficult. I mean, the knight is also pressurizing d6. You know, I was thinking, can we play c6, like just to try and get this bishop some life, trade off a pawn? But no, that's going to be very difficult to achieve. White has got this pressure on the c file, and white's pawns don't really have much weaknesses. Okay, the d5 pawn does need looking after, but I'm struggling to see many active ideas for black.
This is actually really bad for black, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, of course, you hang in there and hope white makes some inaccuracies. But just looking at now, I can't think of any plans, which is always a dangerous place to be.
Rook f2 to try to relieve this c pawn pressure a bit might be one way to slowly remaneuver your pieces, right? So rook f2, then you swing the other rook over.
So probably not f2. What?
Rook f2 for black. Oh, sorry, rook f7. Rook f7. Sorry, my numbers are all over. Yeah,
right. The problem is the knight defends it.
No, not to attack the f, not to attack the f pawn, just to defend the c7 pawn.
For sure. Then yes,
and then you can free your other rook and kind of try to get them active. Right now that rook is dormant. That rook on c8.
Got you. Then yes, I agree. I don't know. I think white can just maintain the knight with like a rook d4. Oh, maybe then black. Maybe that overloads the rook actually. So you're right. That getting your rooks on the open file has to be how you start. Yes, good thinking. Right, I'm going to take a little peek at the KCL games now to see how they're getting on. What have we got here?
So this was this interesting game we were looking at earlier, right?
Oh, is it? No, that was 12, I think.
12. Oh, okay. Yes. Sorry.
You're right. We do need to remember to go back to that. I guess now I'll go to this one. This is complicated. Obviously, like white has the good pawn push potential. Like those double pawns are going places, and the black pawns are not. Black bishop's not particularly great either. And maybe it's not that complicated. Maybe white has just got an easy plan, and it's very hard to disturb this e3 bishop. Of course, you got to maybe keep the knight out of c4. Do I want queen a6 for that reason? Yeah, I think this just looks good for white, and there's not.
If you go queen a6, maybe we can find ways for black to Just start attacking that c pawn for white. Maybe rook c8.
The problem, I don't know. I think I can start advancing.
Yeah, and there's nothing really much about that.
Yeah, I mean, this bishop's like blockading the pawns, really helping to defend the key squares, and supporting the bishop. It's a fantastic piece.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. It's just...
So let's remember that board 12. Where did we leave this? Okay, rook's flying over. White is trying to improve their knight. I mean, e4 does look like a nice square for it, where it can really look at f6. Okay.
So this is what you envision
needs to be played.
We're discussing, right?
Okay. I mean, this makes a lot more sense of the pawn move now. Maybe this actually was quite inspired. I mean, white has gained the f6 square. It might end up just being a knight by itself, but who knows? I mean, maybe there's also queen f3 coming in ideas. Okay, so black tries to challenge this pawn, and white gives it up. Yeah, I mean, after spending all this effort to get it there, I might have wanted to try and maintain it with h4. But does white have something?
So can I ask you why this knight for white? What is it doing on the square right now?
I mean, I guess it has potential always to relocate. It's keeping a rook off the e file. At some point, you can trade for the bishop, but yes, you might actually prefer that your queen was there. So I might be looking for some maneuver where I then get the queen in. I'm also a bit cognizant that black is trying to line something up here. You know, if they might be able to at some point sack their e pawn to land a queen on h2, but maybe that's not enough. Like the bishop could be enough of a defender. So it is looking good for white. Black still has this bad knight that takes quite the time to get back in. And white has some nice active pieces.
It's also worth mentioning maybe the rook and a4 at any point can come back into the attack on the king's side. So, it's kind of scary.
Now, a lot of these squares are covered right now. But yeah, that's in the air. Okay, so this game has remained interesting. Let's check back in on it later. I want to quickly get the last of the King's games. So here we have what looks to be, on the face of it, a nice little c-pawn push coming. There we go. So I like the fact that white here has a relatively easy plan of using their majority, and in this case, black might want to try and do something with their own majority, but that's really not happening. So looks to be quite comfortable for white. This advance of the b pawn now has given white like a permanent pass c pawn, which makes any endgame very good for white. I guess we could say, though, black is hoping to get probably a bishop on c6 and blockade, and then that would be a nice bishop. And it might be a little hard for white to try and trade it off while the knight's there. So far more explosive move. White sacrificing pawn.
White trying to prevent exactly what you're trying to say, right? So probably seeing this exact problem.
Wow. So why can't black just take with the bishop? Because they can always try and plug the c file. Knight c4. I guess that just gets taken. Wow. So I think that's quite a brave move from Emma. Like she had even with the bishop coming to c6. You know, I think maybe me being a more passive player, I might have just been happy with the long-term pass pawn, and she's given up just for activity, just for a very nice c5 square for the knight.
So this light squared bishop for black is obviously really nice. It's eyeing our king, but do you not see it being a bit kind of useless unless black's able to bring all its other pieces into the attack?
Yeah, right. One piece looking at the white king does not a mating attack create. I mean, okay, I'm very interested to see Emma's follow-up, and she has a great time advantage. So I guess she might think for a bit we better keep hopping before others finish. So it looks like another Sicilian has happened again. We see this sort of backwards pawn, and white is really focusing on preventing d5. However, this time f3, like you can see that having provoked f3 here has really blunted white's bishop. If it wasn't the pawn on f3, the bishop would be applying pressure on d4. So I really like that black has at least achieved that. But strategically, this is looking good for me for white.
Yeah. Black
well,
has low time as well, so they're really kind of under pressure.
Yeah, and white's going to double. Yeah, black's under pressure now, of course. With low time for sort of both players, still anything can happen. And final king's game looks to be a nice exchange up for white. So should be able to convert this one, no bother. It'll help an awful lot if you can keep the queenside pawns on them. If black were able to exchange those pawns, maybe you can hold an exchange down. But I think not, as long as these queenside pawns stay on.
So okay. How would you go about converting it then, Richard, as white? What would your kind of ideas be?
Well, I think Eunice is showing that it's quite easy for her just to pick up a pawn. No. Okay. So, well, I guess I'm assuming then the bishop is maybe going to get traded for the knight. How else do you keep the c pawn? In which case, I'm looking to bring my king over to defend the b pawn while I win the c pawn with the rook. And I wouldn't mind too much if I had to trade a kingside pawn for that, because I think then with the rook and the passed b pawn would win the game.
Mm-hmm. Do you think we'll be losing then if you trade this bishop for the knight? That's black.
Yes, but I think it's even more losing if you don't. So
okay.
Yeah, I'm predicting white win.
Some of the war games have finished, right? So let's have a where the scores there and have a slight look. I think they're at the end.
Oh, then certainly some players finished.
Ario's game has been won on time. It looks.
Okay, yeah, that's a win for white. Okay, board's just reflecting that now. Oh, this game was interesting. So
Yeah.
somehow black has wriggled out without losing too much. Although, of course, white is pretty dominant. You know, there's one file that's open, and white's doubled on it. So
That black rook on
still
h6
very
as
good.
well.
Sorry?
So gross. That black rook on h6 is so gross.
Yes, it is. So I would expect white to close this one out. But of course, with little time, anything can happen. And okay, not too much seems to have. Oh no, hang on, I'm not in the live board position. Oh wow, I mean, again, this is just domination. Okay, and then king, a winning king and pawn ending. So yeah, white's just won that. I'm going to flick back to 12, which is this. So what happened? We left it here. Okay, the knight. I wonder why they chose e4. You know, I was expecting d4, and then a later point c4 really solidifies that knight, and it keeps the potential of the rook coming over. So I want okay, black lashes out. Okay. Oh, okay, nice break. Okay, I like this. This is an attempt to bring the black knight back into the game. You know, you loosen d3, and now the black knight's doing something. Of course, the black king is loose. This diagonal is now open as well. Okay. Oh dear. Okay. This. Okay, mate threatened.
There's definitely a lot of
Wow.
tactics there that we've already.
Okay, but I mean, white is down a lot of material, right?
Yeah,
Like, am I counting that correctly? I think so. So, can black just trade queens? Oh, I guess there is a potential fork still in the air.
what is only down an exchange and a pawn?
Yeah,
Um,
that. I mean, if they also win, if they win a pawn, it's just an exchange. But can I just bring the knight back here to defend and, like, you know,
you bring the knight
be an
back,
exchange
and you
of the
not
pawn?
just push the pawn, play f6.
I've at least. Okay, I mean, this is what's happening. Okay, so is bishop e5 now really scary? Wow, okay. I might indeed have underestimated some of white's resources here. I mean, that rook on the h file is really out of place, so it is natural to try to bring it back in. Gave it for the pawn. Well, that brings this game right back into the balance. I mean, that f pawn is powerful, but with only a light square bishop and a rook, it might be very difficult. You know, if the black king sits on f8.
And that was kind of surprising, because it felt like that strengthened the f pawn, that sacrificing that rook back.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know what would have. I was thinking white would bring the bishop in check, you know, while the knight is really restraining the king, but instead they defended the knight. And then, I mean, it is a very nice knight, and the rook is completely out of play. So I can understand giving it back, but as you say, it fixes the pawns. But of course, all that is absolutely fine if this ends up being winning endgame. But white is still finding ways to generate threats onto the black king. Wow.
Oh, and now that loses the a pawn for black as well. Black's losing all its counterplay.
It's
right?
mate if the knight moves, isn't it? So the knight's going.
Oh yes. Oh, I didn't see that. Yes.
Yeah. So
Oh wow.
my goodness.
Should we just
Maybe
explain that to the audience a bit? That took me a
okay.
while as well.
So basically, with their last move, white was threatening a checkmate because the rest of the white's pieces cover the other squares to the king. So black brings the knight back specifically to cover h8, and then white stops one short, and like the black knight's on an unstable position. So white tries to create a square for their king to retreat, but now this looks absolutely winning for white. Oh, and yeah, okay, black resigned on the spot. Yeah, wow. So I thought white always had a nice position in this game, but then it looked to me like something had gone wrong, and white had lost out tactically. So at this point, it looked like black was trading queens, and that would be that. But white managed to keep generating threats. Very exciting.
Oh, that was pretty fun.
Okay, anything still going? Okay, another interesting endgame, but looks very difficult for white. Though that's two passed pawns, white's got their rook like completely stopping the advance. Now, so black is stopping the advance of the white's pawn. In fairness, white was also preventing like any advancement of the black pawns. So I don't understand this move. I guess it's difficult for white. Like if you can't get your G pawn moving, then it's only a matter of time before black queen. So I guess you have to try. But I'll be very surprised if this isn't a black win. So here's one for you. Would you rather your white rook stayed on the first rank and you were sort of like checking from the front, or would you rather your rook was behind the pawns in a position like this?
Well, in this specific position, not in general.
Yeah, sure. This one. I mean, the bishop is of course keeping e1, but would you be trying to get your rook active, get around the back, or would you be keeping it in front?
So having the king in front of the pawns in general is ideal, right? To push your pawns. So I would want my rook in front of the pawns, I think, to stop that king from being. That way, the king is actually behind the pawns while you're checking. That's my flush pawn. Well, do you agree? Do you disagree? Is that wrong?
I don't have the answer. But I was also thinking it was actually maybe not going to achieve too much. Like normally you send your rook round the back, but it didn't look like it would achieve too much for me. Now somehow white while I was talking about that, has managed to exchange pawns, which is a very big development. Why did black allow this, not advance? Huh? Well, there we go. Rook round the back. Actually, it turns out it is pretty good. Okay, so with exchanging a pawn, that's a huge defensive improvement for white. You know, it gets, firstly, black doesn't have two connected pawns that can help advance, and then we're beginning to get into the stage where you might be able to sack a piece for a pawn and still hold the draw when we get down to only a few pawns. Of course, the black is blessed to have the right color bishop. You know, you need a bishop and pawn is a draw for a rook pawn unless the bishop covers the queening square. So that helps black. They're still the one, still got good chances, I think. The white king is a bit uncomfortable. You know, very easy to see mating nets. And of course, it's cut off from the advance of the d pawn.
Oh.
That's
So I think as white, what we'd like to do is get that rook off that b file to free our white knight.
Yeah, indeed. But it's a lot easier said than done. I mean, you can also try and put the knight on b4 to get the king out. But it looks to me like white hasn't found too much of an idea and is just trying to hold. Yeah.
Oh, that's weird. So black's just voluntarily let the.
Well, there'd be a discovered check if you went now. So you'd need to have all your pieces on light squares before you put the king on the b file. I guess the hard question you have to ask yourself is, what if white exchanges? White chooses not to. I guess they felt it would be too strong. I mean, the black rook would be behind the b pawn, probably a winning rook and pawn endgame. These things are very hard to evaluate with only a handful of seconds on the clock. But I might have been tempted for that. I might have gone for the rook and pawn endgame because I don't know, this bishop seems better than the knight to me. So now, what if, rook, exactly, rook h5, defending the pawn, and that white knight has only the g1 square to move to. Is it about to be lost? Let me see. So king e3, yeah. I think this is maybe you can hold the knight with something like rook g1, but
now you don't have anything stopping that.
I mean, I guess you right? Might just have the king coming back in time. But yeah, it's not where I want my knight to be pushed to for sure. So I'm still predicting a black win here.
Can you see white resigning if they feel forced to play knight g1?
Oh, I think you don't resign here. Would be premature. Yeah, and especially when you always have a knight. People say don't resign as long as you have a knight. But concretely, rook g1 to hold the pawn. And then, yeah. Okay.
Got the knight gone then.
Now it might be time to resign. So I just couldn't see 3 moves ahead. There we go. Okay, nicely done from Black.
I think board 2 has an interesting game as well. Oh wait, that's where we are. Yeah. Never mind.
Yeah, I mean, so White's going to get the pawn for it, and of course, if it got down to rook and bishop versus rook, then that should be a draw. Difficult in practice, but I expect over the next 40 moves or so, Black will be able to win that A pawn, and then it'd be easily winning. Of course, you might still play, you might get a stalemate trick or something in such an important game. But as Black, you're relaxed now. It's very difficult for this to go wrong. Got any games remaining?
No, this
is
our
the last one.
game,
Okay, well then we can see it.
Oh.
So again, because the bishop is the right color, this is very important. Otherwise, just swapping rooks would be a draw. White will try and keep the Black king out, but because White can't exchange rooks, I think the Black king will be able to, you interpose with a rook and you get the Black king where it needs to be. What else? If the Black king was too far away, you might try and give, the white rook for the bishop and the pawn. But Black king surely is close enough.
The tea's been successfully drunk.
There we go. So I guess we're trying to get the Black king to b3. When a check will win the A pawn.
We're so close.
Yeah, I mean, okay, interesting. Not obvious to me why they put the rook there. I thought they could just go for the A pawn with the king.
Someone in the comments said board 7 had a crazy position earlier.
Board 7?
Yeah. Which I don't know if we actually looked at that game.
Okay. Queen's Gambit declined. Okay.
Queen's Gambit accepted, no?
Oh, accepted, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, this now looks dangerous for Black.
Yeah. So that's these are sort of really nice positions for White. Like just kind of slowly right after the king.
Yeah, I mean, having secured this bishop on f6, well, Black is running the king. Obviously, given enough time, Black's plan is to get those queenside pawns moving, but Yeah. Okay. Okay, so could this not be taken? No, okay. Then look, surely this is just crumbling for black. Okay. Okay. Well, I mean, I'm sure surely white is still for choice here, but black has created some problems. Okay, so I guess this is about why can't you push? Because
maybe you sack the rook. No, the other way. So sack the rook by taking the knight. But queen takes the rook
your
check.
queen,
Yeah.
So, well, I don't think I'd want to sack the rook through the pawn. What's this? I mean, this is absolute killer knight defending, and will be the piece that pushes
the knight b3 as well, right?
Yeah, so I mean, the knight is the pawn that you're going to need to shift, the piece that you're going to need to actually try and get the pawn home. But of course, right now it's defending the pawn, so you can't play b3 or you drop the pawn with check. And I'm saying it's also defending e6. So really fantastic piece, but it would require a bit you to be a little bit slower and bring the queen to support the pawn first. So I guess I mean, this is very difficult to play.
Board 2, the pawn's finally fallen. The king's finally got there.
Yeah. So this should be now very simple.
Yeah. So it doesn't really matter that you're losing this black bishop, right?
It's not even losing the black bishop because the rook can interpose. But
yeah,
I think yes, you could take the black bishop off and.
Oh, is this a stalemate idea? You see that? Is that stalemate?
If you take the rook.
Yeah.
I mean, this whenever your opponent, runs their king into a corner, you got to be thinking this is what they're going for. Like, if you're trying to defend this position, seriously defend it, then you want the king on a2. So you got to ask yourself, why is white put their king on h8? And yeah, it's because, as you pointed out, whoops.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay, so
thanks so much, Richard.
Likewise.
That was fun. Yeah. What are the results? What are we looking at?
So this is the cross table. I guess that hasn't been updated yet. Okay, some results coming in. Pretty crushing win for Durham. That is a surprise to me. The Imperial team is highly rated. Wow. Cambridge left for draw. Good old Kings still on the warpath. Warwick, you'll be happy.
Yeah.
Just straight past Nottingham. And we have final results for UCL Oxford. We can work it out. So UCL 1, 2, 2-1, 3-1 to UCL.
Okay.
So yeah, thanks
Yeah.
Thanks for co-casting and for people for watching. And
No, thank you, Richard.
enjoy the next round.
Thanks, everybody.